he needs to be in the discussion with all the big-time guys in this league. I mean, he is so impressive. I mean, I went back and watched multiple years of film. He's dynamic in terms of running the ball. I mean, he turns it on. He's got great vision. He's instinctive. In terms of the pass game, he can make all the throws too. So, I mean, he's going to be a handful. I mean, you can sit there and you can have a guy one-on-one with him, and the majority of the time he's going to make you miss. So our kids absolutely respect his game. I do personally as a coach because I've done this for a very long time, and he plays with unbelievable savvy. He's got great vision, so we're gonna have our hands full.
Bigger picture. Why is this working? 1 month in, why is it clicking now?
I don't know. I mean, it's to be seen. I mean, I think the number one thing is trying to understand that if you do your job, the ball will find you, and you don't have to go outside to try to find the football. Mm-hmm. And I think we've done that a couple weeks in a row, so I think there's more trust in it. And, sitting there and being unified as a group to say, like, it's okay that, Malik makes a play, Wheeler makes a play, Nate makes a play, I make a play, and collectively spread it out and making sure that, I really think that's, at the end of the day, it's just the trust factor. And I think a part of it has to do with the way that we call the game, too. I think it was different for them. It's like they're waiting to sit there and just do nothing, and that's not what we're going to do. We're going to freaking push you, and we're going to go, and this is the way we're going to play, and it's going to be up-tempo and learn how to do it. So, it's still to be seen. I mean, honestly, you can sit here and you put a string together and everybody's, patting us on the back and saying this because it's been a while since we've done something like this. But to me, it's to be seen. And with a team like this, it's going to come in there and has a mobile quarterback and has a big old line and prides himself on being physical. What a great test for us to see what we're all about.
How much of this do you think it's just, you look at all these guys, Poona, Malik, Deshaun, Menahu, these guys aren't newcomers anymore.
Right.
Do you think it's coming together that they are upperclassmen?
Yeah, I do.
And the game is slowed down?
I do. I do think that part of it. I think the way that we train, I think the way that what we're asking to do, their comfort level to, like, what is this guy thinking? We've got 5,000 calls. What does he really want to do? Mm-hmm. And I think they're starting to understand our personality in terms of what we want to run, those things. So I think you're exactly right. I think at some point it's like, okay, I got this. We've done this a million times. This is the way he wants to do it. Or they're anticipating what we're going to call. Let's go, man. Call this. Sure. I'm ready for it. So I think there is, they are a seasoned group. They've been through a lot of defenses too. So I think that does help.
Todd, we talked about Nahshon going into the year 17th on the team in tackles last year. Where is he in terms
He needs to give us more. He does, in my opinion. He's a big kid, big and strong. He needs to pick it up. So he knows that part of it. I'm not talking to you like I didn't tell him. So that's, like I said, that position, we've had some guys when I was at Houston and Utah State, those guys were draft picks, third rounder, second rounder last year at Houston, and he needs to be more productive. So just in my opinion, some of those plays even at Iowa State, finish those things, pick those balls off, do those things that we need you to do to be a dynamic playmaker.
Todd, do you see, is there any kind of snowball effect in terms of the confidence of your guys on defense? Do they practice a little better this week than last because they're getting results?
Yeah, I think so. I think any time that you have some results, it makes going to work a lot easier. You know what I'm saying? That's anybody, any profession. So I think there is part of that. And I think there's a lot to prove. I think there's a lot to prove this week because they've heard they're going to come in physical, and they are physical. They've been physical for freaking 30 years since Bill been there. So, it's we'll see. We'll see. That's nothing leads me, but I've been wrong before. I told you that going into the Maryland week that I feel good about where we're at, and we laid an egg. So it's we'll find out in this game where we're at from a physical standpoint. That's what I'm anxious to see. This is going to be a 4-quarter war. This is, and we know it. They know it. And let's see what happens.
Coach, earlier this year you talked about wanting to open up your heart to Malik, and you wanted him to kind of do the same, kind of pour into him.
Yeah.
Tell me how that relationship is, because he seems to be producing on the field and the things that kind of been.
Yeah, it's good. There's a part of him that there's a fine line between coaching a guy up and he's so intelligent, and he's got great parents. He's been raised the right way. And there's a fine line between, coaching them up hard, the respect level that you have to give each other, coach to player, player to coach. But there's things that, we addressed early on that we saw. I mean, and the thing that's been great with him is he's accepted that part of it. He hasn't tried to make excuses off of it. He's like, teach me, coach me up, okay? And I'm doing the same thing. And the thing that I just want him to do more of, and he's starting to do it, is just kind of be a football junkie. Go in, put a film on, you tell me what they're doing before I even have a chance to get through it. And he's starting to do that because he's going to have to be ready for that. Once he makes the jump, you got to be a pro, man. It's what it's all about. And just spending more time at your craft. And he's slowly but surely. Our relationship, I think, is getting better because we can separate the football part from the personal stuff right now. And he knows how I feel about him. And when I coach him, it's not personal. It's not about me and Malik and what's going on in your life. It's about, man, we're here to try to make you the best player humanly possible. And don't get that separated from me and you talking. And he's been good about that. And he understands what we're trying to get accomplished. And to me, his practice habits have been better. So, when you look at him in a game, you look at it and say, oh, that's pretty good. But, when you look at him at practice compared to what he's been in the past, it's a completely different kid. So just keep training him that way. But, like I said before, and he's a very mature guy, he gets it. He really does. It's just now, hey, teach me through the finer parts. That's our next step with his development, is teaching all the stuff that can grab you 4 or 5 extra plays that maybe the untrained eye doesn't see on film. Like, here, this is what I want to show you. This is how you can pick up 4 or 5 different plays. This is how you can get a sack. This is how you can get a pick. Trying to teach him that stuff.
Are you happy with the way he's shooting the gaps to get the pressure?
Yeah, I am. I think it's completely different than what I've seen beforehand, but I think it's just his comfort level with the package also. I think at first it was kind of diagnose, read, do this. Now he's like, okay, these are the parameters you've given me. I'm taking full advantage of this stuff. And I think when we first started off, it was kind of like, am I allowed to do that? Am I allowed to do this? So I think it's just a learning curve in terms of, okay, you've given me this much space to go. I'm going to take that sucker, and I'm going to go with it. But I know what you don't want. So he's able to separate that in his mind, and I think it looks, and when you look at it from the stance, it's like he's playing a lot faster than what he is, and that's what's happening.
How close is Chris Brown? And where would he threaten for playing time?
Chris is in a backup role at safety, and just getting Chris, the thing that he does is Chris allows, he brings great physicality. So, if we were to get an injury in the back end, you'll see Chris.
Could he play nickel?
The thing about Chris in terms of, not to get too specific with our opponents with it, but there's some things that he wouldn't be great at in our package. He'd be a great blitzer.
Deshaun was a kid that first 2 years, maybe the light bulb didn't totally come on or stay on. Where did you see him kind of figure it out this year?
Well, I don't know if it's, trust me, I mean, you guys see him on the games. We see him every day. So I think there's a part of it that he's got a lot of confidence right now. So, sometimes you fight the ball in the air, you miss it, like, how come you didn't make that play, you don't finish? Then you get 1, and then all of a sudden you get 2, and then all of a sudden you own the ball. And I think that's where he's at right now, where, when that ball goes up in the air, it's not like, okay, can I make this play? I'm making this play. So there's a lot that goes into that. He's playing that boundary safety spot, which he's kind of the what you kind of want. A physical guy that can strike people in the run game, and then he's been great in the post. So most of his picks, I think 3 out of the 4, was him in the middle of the field just reading the quarterback. So he's got really good instincts. He's got really good ball skills. So I think he's just taking off. There's some things that he's doing right now that he's playing with a lot of confidence.
With the unique offense that Kansas State runs, do you see P.J. Locke coming off the field at some times? And if you do go to a 4-linebacker look, what does that look like?
Yeah, he will be. You'll see 4 wide and 3 wide probably about 60% of the time, and then they're going to come out in 2-back stuff. So when they go 2-back, PJ, we'll get into base, and we'll kind of do what we've done so far this year. So 60% of the game, you'll see PJ in there. The rest of the time, you'll see 4 linebackers.
Who replaces him when he comes off?
Well, it'll be Malik playing on the outside, and Gary Johnson will come inside.
Todd, when you look at K-State, not everybody uses a fullback anymore. When you look at Winston Dimble, what
Love
kind of
him.
dynamic?
I love him. I mean, I love that. I mean, old school guys, man, guys that block. He's got really good ball skills. He's another guy that's extremely savvy when he plays. I love that kid. I mean, you watch his film, and he never takes a play off. Whether he has the ball in his hands, whether he's blocking, it doesn't matter. He goes full speed all the time. And all those guys, man, they're warriors in my opinion. That's what they are. They play the game the way it's supposed to play. And, and that position obviously is kind of a dying breed, that's part of it. But that kid will have a bright future. He really will. I mean, he plays extremely hard.
Why's your pass rush better than it was?
Because we're covering probably better, to be honest with you. Giving guys a little bit of time to do it. I think we're blitzing better. I think we're, like I told you beforehand, the hesitation on some of this stuff. We've been really on our guys, and it's almost like you have to tell them it's okay to fail. There's always, I think when you have really good kids and they really want to be pleasers, that's almost like you want to stop them from doing that. It's like, I'm a little bit tentative. I don't want to let you down. And it's like, you're not going to let us down. Just go. So that's a piece of it. But I think we're doing a decent job in the back end with hiding coverages and covering guys that allow us to get to the quarterback.
Coach, opposing offenses are going at Chris Boyd. What do you feel like is how you played the last game, and what's your conversation?
Yeah, okay. To me, it's the same thing, consistency. We talked about it last week, I know, and he knows how we feel, and we know what kind of talent he has. And you just got to put it all together. But he's long, and to me, if he consistently plays with pad level, he's got great feet, he can go up and challenge any ball. It's just getting him dialed in all the time. And it starts with practice. It starts with everything that he does to take him out there. But there was an improvement. You didn't see a kid that was out there kind of just lost. He went out there and got on his guy, challenged guys. And if we can get a 6'2" corner to run side by side with somebody, you're going to be in decent shape. And that's what Chris has to understand. I just want to see Chris finish some more plays on those 50-50 balls.
Todd, still going back to the transformation of this thing, because they've been so down the last few years.
Yeah.
You guys, it felt like y'all kind of used the stick on them after Maryland. Because you talked about we need to get more pressure, we need to do this, and they look so different against San Jose.
I mean,
what happened that week?
I'll be honest with you. We didn't go in there and just Tommy gun everybody. We didn't. I mean, me personally, I did not. We tried to correct the mistakes and find out the why. PJ's a great example. It's like, why can't we set an edge? Why can't we do this? And I think once you find out the innards of, like, I want to make a play for you, coach. You don't. You just need to do your part. Right. And then let this thing play out, and then if it's all messed up, you can blame me. That's where it starts out. And I think after that, like I always say, it's like my old man said, sometimes you need to get your ass kicked before you get humbled, and sometimes it's the best thing that happens to you. So I think that's a piece of it, where you sit down and say, this way can't work. Let's all hone in and do it the way that we've been trained to do. And I think that's kind of the results of San Jose. And I think there's still some things that, consistency-wise, like, once again, trained eye looks at it and go, oh, what the hell is he doing there? Right. So there's things that we have to get better. Heat of the battle, I'm talking about game on the line stuff. Can you perform when the heat is on? We still have to get better there.
What the Malik closeout on the fourth down sack was what you've been talking about. Just don't think, just
that's
go
right.
get
Put
it.
your foot in the ground and go.
Yeah, I mean, what other plays really jump out at you at the last 3 weeks of that's what you want?
I think there were some things where, off the top of my head, that one really sticks out. Now, there's been some other ones where guys have just cut it loose, and it might be a sideline tackle, might be something where you can be some hesitation, but that's all we want them to do. It's like, it's not me versus all 11 out here. Running collectively to the football as hard as you can and not thinking. But that goes back to the same thing. Why you can write the way you write is because that's what you do and you work at it. That's your craft.
Right.
So, you put yourself in the situations where it's, all right, I got a deadline, I got to do this, I got to do this. So you train yourself to do that. So when it's heat of the battle and you really got to get it done, you've already done it.
Right.
That's right. So you don't even think about it. It's like, this is what I do, and I do it. So that's what we're trying to get our kids to understand in practice is, if you go with that mindset every day in practice that, okay, this is 4th and inches, game on the line, we're at SC, final drive, this is what's about, then when it happens, honestly, if you're trained the right way, you look back at that play and go, oh my goodness, that was a pretty big moment in this game. I didn't even freaking realize it because it just. I'm just saying in general.
In general, right.
In general, it's like you train so hard that, it's just a regular play. I don't even think that it's game on the line, 4th and 4. I've got to make this play to win the game. That's where we have to get our guys to. And that's what we try to do more than anything else in practice. Coaches, put some heat on them. Let's freaking make them work. Let's make them think. Game's on the line, so they're trained that way. It's not the first time they go into it and they wilt. So
How's Roach?
good. We need to see more production out of him too. He's another guy that's got tools that can make some plays, but he's starting to steadily come along. I thought he played solid. He's on some of our specialty groups, but he's a guy that we know that can get after the quarterback, and that's what we need to see more than anything else.
Todd, the other day, Charles talked about sort of how he's transformed his body and evolved as a player since he's got here. Now, you haven't been here for that whole process.
Yeah.
Just since you've been here, how have you seen him change?
Hey, Charles is a guy that works at his craft, but his length, it's the one thing you can't teach. So I think he's learning. Oscar's done a really good job of teaching him, like, you're 6'4", 5", put your arm out, you're like 7'5", and that's what he has to play with. He has an advantage physically over people. It's just being a young guy, not being real strong, didn't know how to use it. And now I think he's starting to understand how to play with leverage. I think he's a natural pass rusher, but I think if he can get his hands on you and get some separation, he's the guy that's right now, if you told me in the beginning of the year, would Charles lead you up front in terms of sacks, I'd probably say no. I would probably say Malcolm would be the guy. But he's doing a really good job. He's been real solid, and he's actually turned it up the last couple of weeks, so I'm happy for him.
He's sort of starting to get sort of the nuances of the
Yeah,
position down.
absolutely, he is. And I think he's starting to play with a little bit of confidence. He's not, kind of analyzing, looking around, do I belong here? He knows he belongs there. But like I said beforehand, if he continues to use his length, he'll be even better for us.
Next one.
Todd, I know you talked about guys kind of buying into the way you guys call the game, being aggressive
Yeah.
all the time. When guys are bought in like that for you, looking at your call sheet during a game, does it really open up?
Yeah, absolutely does. I mean, you look back at some of the things even at Maryland, there's a certain type of trust that when you're any coordinator, it doesn't matter what it is. It's like, all right, if I put them in this thing, they run this, maybe we can't react to it. So you kind of simplify and you do things, and the training wheels are off now. I mean, it's full go. And there's going to be some times where we screw some stuff up, but the thing that makes this package is being multiple. And that's the part that I think they're starting to understand. And it's hard in this league. This league goes fast now. This league goes fast. You got to signal it in. They'll check at the line of scrimmage, just like K-State will check at the line of scrimmage. We'll have to flip things around. So it puts a lot of strain on a play caller to make sure that your kids are actually lined up. Forget about executing the play. It's like, did I get the call? Did I change this? Am I doing the right thing? But to answer your question, there is a comfort level, and I feel comfortable along with the staff of being able to call a handful of things instead of a few things.
Thanks, Todd.
We're continually improving and evolving. We're a young football team. We have to do a better job of protecting the football and eliminating self-inflicting wounds. We're playing behind the chains way too much, and we're not at that level yet to overcome those things. I like our guys continue to work hard. They continue to find a way. Kudos to Iowa State, came out and played, completely different thing. And with a young offensive football team that we are continually to evolve of who we need to be, that was for the most part, in a veteran team, probably not as a drastic thing, but to us, a young team and an offense that's evolving, that was kind of a drastic. I thought our guys settled in a little bit and were able to make some adjustments to that and enable us to score enough points to win the game.
Is it concerning to you that, in half the games you played this year, Maryland and Iowa State, that defenses came out and did something you were not prepared for at all and, had some struggling performances with it?
Yeah, you do. You can only practice so much. You only have so much time and hours, and when you have it, again, we're new, these guys are new, first time running it, there's a lot of firsts. That was our first time seeing a 3-3 stack, first time seeing 38 double cloud, and so we hadn't even seen it, to coach them through it, to teach them it. So you're trying to do that on the sideline. So when you're confused or you play hesitant because you're not quite sure, you're not playing real fast, and maybe the timing's off and you miss a step or something like that and a guy beats you. So some of that had took place. I think the more we play, the more you're going to be able to say, hey, you remember against Maryland when they did this? Oh, yeah, Coach, I remember. Here's what we're going to do. Okay, gotcha. We can't do that right now. Hey, remember this? And they're like, no, because they haven't gone through it. So there's some growing pains there, obviously for us right now.
Coach, each of your quarterbacks have had 2 starts. Can you give your assessment of where you think both of those guys are at right now?
They're like our offense, inconsistent. When there's opportunities to make plays, we got to make them, and we're inconsistent. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. I think Shane's been obviously a little more accurate than Sam has. But they're both a work in progress. Both continually need to improve to play at that championship level that we need them to play at. We're not at that championship level right now.
Tim, Tom was talking about how he's down on the field, he doesn't see the game as well as he did when he was calling plays on the box, and he needs you to give him a detailed breakdown of what you're seeing. How's that going? Because in some ways the offense that you're running has some nuances maybe that are new to you too.
Yeah, no doubt. There's no doubt. Yeah, and that's part of all of this. I mean, that's, you know what I mean? Me coming in, and there are some new things that, again, Tom could talk to Derek and Drew and go, hey, remember when we played Memphis, we did this? I'm like, I wasn't at that game. I don't remember that. So they're coaching me up on those things. So there's some of that that does go on through the course of the game, But I think for the most part, again, we're all on the same page. The players are all in. It's just a learning process. We're a young team. I mean, you go through our lineup and some of the guys. I mean, we've played 4 true freshmen. I don't know how many countless true sophomores, redshirt freshmen that have been playing for us and contributing at a high level. And that's probably back in the day at the University of Texas, you wouldn't see that very much.
Tim, how is Shane's growing injury list bothering you guys?
How's it bothering us?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think
is it alarming, or this is going back to last season too?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's alarming. I mean, I don't focus on those things. I try to coach the guys that are playing as hard as we can. All of us. We're trying to give our guys the best plan to win. Obviously, AP down in the training room and their staff are doing everything they can to keep those guys healthy, and they're doing everything they can to keep themselves healthy. So it is what it is, and we just go about our business and play the guys that suit up and get out on the field.
Tim, how have you seen your offensive linemen kind of respond on a day-to-day basis the past couple of weeks since Connor got hurt?
Again, they're improving. Denzel and Derek, two young players. I really like both their work ethics and what they do. I thought Derek actually played really well for us in the ball game for a first start true freshman on the road in a Big 12 conference game. I was really pleased with what he did. I think he's got great potential and will be a really good player for us and help us. But again, there's going to be stuff that's going to happen in this game he's probably never seen before or never had to deal with, and that's part of the learning curve that we have to go through. And Derek does an outstanding job as an O-line coach. I'm really pleased at the toughness that he's developed in those guys and the work ethic, and it's just you can't teach them all in one day. I mean, they got to learn and make mistakes at times, and you got to learn from those things. You just hope that you can coach them enough that they fall back on their rules. Here's what I'm supposed to do. Coach taught me to do this, and they don't get frustrated and they just keep going. And eventually, they're like, okay, now I know what's happening, and they can make some adjustments. They have to be able to do that in the game. I'm stepping too wide because every time I step, he comes underneath, so I got to shorten my step or whatever that might be.
Because the counter power inside-outside zone was sort of the basis of this offense last year. Is that what these guys do best? Power?
You know, I think they can. You know, again, we've done some of that. Last year, I know they had Andrew. They had another the tight end that graduated. I think they even had a lineman that they used at times. At this point, we're not in that position. So you have to play the cards that are dealt you and figure out how do you move the ball and score enough points to win the game. That's ultimately the goal, is to do that.
Tim, I know Coach Herman talked on Monday about not being thrilled with the running backs, not necessarily maximizing runs or getting yards after contact. What do you need to get out of that position, in your opinion, that you guys haven't gotten so far?
You know, probably the thing right now is breaking a tackle. I mean, just and prolonging it. You know, I think they're running hard. I think that they might break a tackle or make a guy miss. You know, a prime example like Chris's touchdown. He made a guy miss, stayed on his feet, and scored. You know, that type. We need more of those type of things, because when we do get the guys blocked, there might be a safety or a corner coming in, and if they're making the tackles, it's gain of 4 or 3, as opposed to having that guy miss and it's a big play. We're not getting that right now. The big play.
You talk about Kerstetter, just at some point you kind of got to roll or something. Do you think about doing that with the 2 young running backs, Antonio and Danny, just kind of turning them loose at some point?
You know, we talked a little bit about getting those guys in. You saw a little bit with Tennille. He played a little bit more against Iowa State and actually provided a spark. I mean, he showed fresh legs and made a big play on that little pipe route, and plays fast. That's one thing about him. There's no evaluation or should I hit this hole or that hole. He just goes.
What's going on with Reggie Hemphill Maps? He's kind of in and out. You know, he didn't play that first half. He didn't play much in the first half against Iowa State.
Yeah, you know, again, it's you hate to keep it. It's part of the young inconsistency that we're going through as an offense right now. Reggie's just a part of it, just like I mentioned the quarterbacks, or I mean, you could go through anybody. One guy shines one day, and the next day you don't see him. That's the inconsistency.
It seems like that might put more pressure on Colin. I mean, you know, should you guys be targeting him more, getting him involved earlier?
Well, yeah, and we try, and that's why the plan obviously is to try to create matchups for him. They were doubling him quite a bit. I mean, they were putting 2 guys on him, and it's not like basketball where you set a bunch of picks and all that stuff and try to run them free. I mean, there's not much you can do when they're putting 2 guys on him. Your other guy's got to step up, make some plays, and say, okay, we can't double him anymore.
Tim,
You've seen
with Connor and Andrew Hurd, who are some of the guys you're looking at for like on-field leadership out there on game days?
Yeah, that's a good. You know, obviously Patrick Baye and Jake. There are 2 juniors. They're our oldest guys playing right now. Tristan, as a senior, that you know are playing every down, that are out there all the time. Obviously, you know, Armonte and Dorian and those guys kind of run in and out, but they're not playing all the time like those guys are. So you need some of that to step up. The offensive line, obviously the quarterback, you know, and you know, Shane has to continue to do that. And or if Sam's playing, then Sam has to do it. I mean, wherever that quarterback is, that's part of the leadership role that he possesses. He's got to be able to do that.
You've seen Kansas State a lot in your career?
Yeah.
Same as it ever was?
Yeah, same. Well coached.
Did you dread a week like this after seeing so many times?
You know, it's interesting. They're well coached, a real tough physical team. They're not going to make a lot of mistakes. They know all the idiosyncrasies of their defense. If this hurts them, they're going to do this. If this hurts them, they're going to do that. They know exactly what they're doing, and they're really good at what they do. That's why they're one of the top defenses year in, year out. And they don't beat themselves. You're going to have to beat them. Good tacklers in space, good D-line, physical, plug gaps. It's a challenge. We're challenging our guys to be able to run the football on them. We got to be able to do that. But if there is a good thing, they don't do a lot. If there is a good thing, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but you kind of know where they're going to be. Unlike some teams you play, you come out and, you know, like we mentioned, all of a sudden you come out, you're like, oh my gosh, what is this? I wouldn't expect that necessarily from this group.
So last year, Texas ran an offense that wanted 80, 90 plays, and they only got 66. When you are going against an offense that values controlling the ball so much, what do you emphasize during the week?
Yeah, we got to make every drive count because that's real. I mean, they're gonna snap the ball with 1 second left and take their time and very meticulous, well thought out offensive plan. So you're going to get limited touches. So when you get them, you got to make them count.
When you sit down with Shane, you guys kind of go back and look at the film. Do you see throws that could have been made?
Oh, yeah.
That there, and of course he's also taking sacks too. So
No doubt.
Okay.
No, I've got to get rid of the ball. Again, confused. In the old system, he never worried about coverage. The system was just kind of throw to the open guy. So when now all of a sudden I'm like, hey, if it's 2 high zone, do this. 1 high zone, do this. 1 high man, do this. Here's where you need to go to the ball. And he's like, Coach, they're like 3 dudes deep and they're clouding and we're dropping 8, rushing 3. What do I do? Because he's never seen that. So there was some of that. He settled a little bit, but he did miss some throws we had available. He didn't get to them.
What about Cade? What are you seeing? Looks like his role's growing.
Yeah, I like Cade. He's a very smart, headsy football player. He's where he needs to be, usually in very good football position. Needs to get bigger and stronger, but I like his work ethic, toughness, no nonsense guy. Doesn't say much, just really busts his butt. That really, those 4 freshmen we're playing, all very similar. It's a really, those 4 guys in particular that we've played, I really like them. They all got a bright future here.
One of the plays that really stood out from that Iowa State game was the reverse handoff with Chris that ended up getting fumbled. So just kind of curious, what goes into that situation to call that play? And then does a miscue like a fumble or turnover sort of cause you to rethink using a similar play later in the game?
Yeah, the first part, why did he do it? It felt like we kind of had him on the ropes, had a reverse called, trying to get the ball to Armonte to the open field. Iowa State was jacked up, trying to play really good defense, something different. They were running to the ball pretty good, playing good run defense. We thought, hey, we can get them maybe on a reverse, get Armonte to the open field. Just wasn't a very smart play. We got penetration in the B gap. Chris just trying to make a play, pitching the ball. Probably wasn't, definitely wasn't the smartest thing to do. And the second part, does it refrain you from trying to do those things again? Sometimes, sometimes as a play caller, if you call a play that looks good and you feel like schematically is a good play against this defense and you don't execute it, you have a hard time going back to it again. It's like a pitcher in baseball throws a curve and a guy hits a home run. The next time the catcher says throw the curve, he's like, I don't know if I want to throw that. You know what I mean? So that's real. That does happen. That's human nature. That sometimes that takes place. It's probably not a good thing, but it is real.
Tim, you guys did some more, especially there were stretches where it seemed like you did some more 20 personnel, and even maybe some 21 personnel. Going back and watching the film, do you like what you got out of those looks, and is that something you kind of expand on?
We did. We jumped in there a little bit, again, for the personnel issues that we had and wanted to play. I don't think they were prepared for it, so they didn't play it like some teams will. Some teams know you're running that kind of personnel and you're going to get different looks. I think we were able to catch them to play personnel like speed and 11 personnel, so it helped us a little bit. But to sit here and say that every team's going to do that same thing, I don't know that.
What does Shane do better than Sam right now?
Very accurate with the ball. He's really accurate. I think his numbers even show that. He's very high percentage, in terms of that. He does a good job of getting the ball out and giving our guys a chance to make plays.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thank you.
Coach.